Come on, man, let's get the hell out of here.
Don't even do that. You
Now,
hit my
look at
shirt,
this
man.
shit. Look at this shit.
Put that
Shit,
back
that
on.
campaign is
That's
alive.
my shit.
Now, this review was highly requested, and I'm gonna be honest, I can probably count on one hand the amount of times I've seen it. But watching this as an adult, this movie was hilarious. Maybe I was just too young to fully appreciate it. I don't know. But listen, Maximillion stopped at nothing to get Rita. He was spitting straight honey, killing off roommates, the whole nine. As you can just about guess, while watching this movie, I noticed more than a few things. And now it's time to talk about it. So let's get into it. So the movie opens up to us hearing a voiceover from one of our main characters, Maximillion, detailing the origins of his kind, the undead. Apparently, they were driven from Egypt and traveled to an island hidden in the Bermuda Triangle where they feasted on unsuspecting tourists until hunters found and killed them. And Maximillion is the lone survivor of this attack. So he took it upon himself to travel to Brooklyn, New York to find the last offspring of his people so that he could be fruitful and multiply. So it's here that we meet our side characters, Julius and his uncle Silas. Julius and Silas are minding their business, watching Family Feud and taking risky bets, while this ship is destroying everything in its path. Eventually, this ship crashes into the building they're in, and they get the shock of their lives, and Julius wanted no parts.
I don't see no lights. I don't see no people either. Damn, look at the time. I gotta bounce, Unc. I'm supposed to be at my lady's crib.
He's so trifling. How he gonna just leave his uncle out there like that? I wouldn't fool with him anymore after that. But Silas goes over to investigate and to see who's on the ship, and he finds more than what he bargained for. Child, it was bodies on top of bodies, and if Silas thought that was it, he ran into a wolf-like creature that morphed into a human. I would be putting in my 2 weeks notice expeditiously. But we go back to Julius, who is having a little love trouble. Apparently, he can't seem to stay up, literally or figuratively, and he gets kicked out on his ass by this chick.
What? Damn, baby, what I do? You was snoring! Every woman, everybody snores.
Not while they fucking!
And if things couldn't get worse, he gets spotted by some people he owes money to, and they were really excited to see him. Tony and Anthony quickly hem him up, and Julius pulls out every excuse in the book.
Who's gonna take care of my kids?
You don't have any kids, asshole.
I'll start.
And they were so focused on Julius that they didn't even notice Maximillion in human form creeping in the background. And when they finally do see him, he starts offering killing suggestions.
I wouldn't do that if I were you.
What? Huh?
You might miss the heart. You aim between the eyes, that way you get a nice, even spray.
But Anthony and Tony didn't need or want his help and quickly handled him. Or so they thought.
Interesting.
It would have been a wrap for me at that point, but these guys learned the hard way, and Mr. Tony here gets his heart yanked straight out of his chest. And Anthony's simple ass has a whole gun and access to a car, but he chooses to run and hide behind it. And baby, Julius understood the assignment because he hightails it out of there. But unfortunately for him, he didn't get as far as he thought, and Maximillion found him with quickness. And Julius tries his best to get out of the situation.
Because I ain't really see you. You know I'm blind. Where you at? Where you at? See, look. Where you at? Huh? Where you at?
Now Julius is pleading for his life, but it's just not working because he's been chosen by Maximillion, and whether he likes it or not, his life is no longer his own. And I want you to take a good look at this face, because this is the last time he will ever look this normal. If you know, you know. But Maximillion has made Julius his ghoul, his right-hand man of sorts, who will be tasked to help him search for this offspring and find her by the next full moon. And this is where we meet our other main and side characters, Rita and Detective Justice. They've been called to the scene of the shipwreck from earlier, and Rita starts to investigate the ship. Now, Rita has spiritual gifts. She sees and feels things, as she puts it, and even paints the visions she receives. We will learn more about that as the film progresses. But child, Silas was getting tired of all the questions, making it seem like he was crazy or something.
It was a wolf, goddammit! Big, black, stinking ass wolf! Son of a bitch, turned into a man! Just like a hoe I knew in Detroit back in 62, 63. I come to the door, she's a man! Flip-flop is this shit!
Meanwhile, Maximillion and Julius have made it back to the ship, but unfortunately for them, cops are everywhere. Maximillion needs his coffin, and it was too many people around to morph back into a wolf, so he causes a little distraction. Meanwhile, Rita's looking around on the ship and ends up falling to the bottom of it. It's there where she finds Maximillion's coffin and gets the shock of her life. While Maximillion is searching for the same coffin that Rita just found, Maximillion spots Rita, and upon first sight, he knows he has found the person he came for, and he quickly exits the ship with his coffin. Rita sees him briefly and tries to chase after him, but only ends up looking crazy when she brings her partner Justice where she saw the coffin and nothing was there. Well, something was there, but it wasn't what they were looking for.
What is that?
Write it off. Human ear.
You look at this? My fucking head done fell off. You ain't say nothing about my hands falling off.
And that's not the only thing that's gonna fall off either. Child, Julius brings Maximillion to his uncle's to try to convince Silas to let Maximillion rent out one of his units. He wasn't with it at first, but after he received proof of funds, he quickly changed his mind.
How to do so? Welcome to the neighborhood. Trash man comes on Tuesday. God love you, God loves me. Bye.
And after Maximillion gets a peek at his new spot, he sets the ground rules for Julius. And clearly, this will be an abusive partnership. Basically, Maximillion wants Rita to be found by the next night, and Julius better not mess it up. We go back to Rita, who's just making it home, and she starts to feel like she's being followed. She hurries into the building, and as soon as she gets in, shit starts getting weird. Windows fly open, doors are busted in, and as the elevator door opens, she sees herself lying in a coffin before she wakes up and realizes that this is a nightmare. Rita is starting to believe she's going crazy, like her mother did. Apparently, her mom died not too long ago in a psychiatric hospital. So later on, when Rita gets to work, Captain Dewey tells her and Justice about a lead. They found two bodies not too far from the docks. These were the bodies of Anthony and Tony. Rita asks about the ship's log, and Dewey tells her that a Dr. Zakos has been commissioned to figure out the details of the log. So Rita and Justice go out to do a little follow-up. But they didn't know that they were being watched by Julius, and child, Julius is looking rougher by the day and gaining new cravings.
Info, Happy Meal.
Ugh. So anyway, we learned that Rita's vision of herself in a coffin meant that her and Maximillion were meant for each other, and it was only a matter of time before they would meet. So with a tip from Julius, Maximillion plans to pull up to Dr. Zako to set up a by-chance meeting with Rita. Meanwhile, Julius is losing more body parts, and this doesn't go unnoticed by Silas, who offers him some advice.
If I was you, I'd take a dick check quick.
What's up, man?
While they're on the way to Dr. Zako, Maximillion tells Julius how all he needs is one dance with Rita and it will be a done deal. When Julius tries to hype him up for the night, he quickly puts him in his place.
I'm warning you to drive the limo and shut your fucking mouth.
Shut up! Shut the fuck up! God damn it!
The way he said that was so funny to me. But we go back to Rita and Justice, who are walking to Dr. Zako's. As they're walking, Justice asks Rita why she never talks about her mom, and Rita tells him that she didn't know much about her. Her mom flipped out after she had her and was sent to a psychiatric hospital, leaving Rita to be raised in foster care. We didn't get to learn more because shortly after, they realized they were in front of Dr. Zako's spot. And when they get there, they are spotted by the man himself, and he instantly knows something is up with Rita. They begin to ask him about the ship, and he told them what he learned from the ship log. He warns them that the undead has landed in Brooklyn, and while Justice thinks this is all foolish talk, Rita is curious and eager to learn more. Rita goes on to question Dr. Zako about how he knows so much about the undead. It turns out that he once battled the undead himself and lost someone close to him. He urges Rita to keep her cross close to her since she's gonna need it. And he wasn't lying, because Mr. Maximillion has entered the building and he's staring at Rita like this. Child. He goes on to tell Rita how there's a killer on the loose, and for a split second, she thinks he has a clue about the actual killer, but he's really talking about the snake lurking behind her. He catches the snake and takes this opportunity to try and woo Rita. He's working on a strict timeline, so every minute counts, and baby, he was spitting straight honey. He starts talking about how he had a dream about a woman who was trapped and how he set her free and how he believes the woman of his dream was her. And he even asked her to dance, and she was all for it until she saw her partner and got brought back into reality. And to add to that, this poor unfortunate soul.
Yeah, you know what? He's trying to get his fuck on. And he want to get it on with you, see? So why don't you just be nice and show my man some respect, because he'll put it on you.
This guy still hasn't learned to tread carefully. I guess he hasn't lost enough body parts yet, but Maximillion quickly sets him straight and puts him back into his place.
This tongue of yours has complicated a very simple plan. If it happens again, I'm going to hang you with it. You understand?
Sometime later, Rita and Justice make it to her house to get a cup of coffee and talk. And her thirsty-ass roommate, Nikki, smelled a man and came out to introduce herself. And she was coming on way too strong for Justice. While he was trying to dodge Nikki's blatant advances, Rita overheard some commotion outside. Tell me why Mr. Maximillion is outside creeping, all in the kitchen window. But Justice skips out on the coffee and heads towards the door, but he gets stopped in his tracks by this painting. Turns out Rita created this after one of her dreams. As Justice heads to his car, Nikki, again, tries her best to lure him to her bedroom, but it was a no-go.
If you leave something this important behind it, means you really don't want to go.
2 words, cold shower.
Enter Maximillion. He decided to use her desperation to his advantage, and sadly, it didn't take much work at all.
You sure ain't from around here. Would you like to come and warm up with some coffee or some other refreshment?
She didn't even get his name. The girl didn't even get his name and took him upstairs to her apartment. Dude could have really messed them up. She was a liability for real. But Nikki gets what she was begging for, and of course, y'all know what time it is.
Yeah.
Now, whole time, Rita thought she was sexing Justice, and she was so bothered by it that she went outside to finish the painting from earlier, not knowing that she was painting current events. Well, we'll get back to that later. But the next morning, Rita goes to Nikki's room and finds that her room is now empty. She finds a letter that Nikki left her, well, a letter that she thought Nikki wrote for her, telling Rita that she finally found her dream man and she's out of there. And this disturbed Rita so much that she ran to the house of the Lord, and Maximillion wasn't too far behind. Maximillion is able to get to the preacher before Rita and takes him out. And if that wasn't enough, he turns himself into the preacher just in time for Rita to ask him for some guidance. She starts to tell him how she's been having bad dreams, tossing and turning at night, and believes that she's going crazy like her mother, and Maximillion almost lets his real self shine through.
Well, I guess I'm just afraid of ending up like my mother, you know? Afraid I might be losing my mind.
You're afraid you're going crazy? That's good. Well, I mean, it's good, to get that out.
Before he could learn more, he's rushed into the church, and I guess he forgot what preachers do, or where they do it at, because when he stepped into this church, this slipped out.
Now, not a good time.
And child, the congregation was not ready for this sermon. He starts talking about necessary evil, how the world needs duality, spilling all types of tea.
Brother Brown was down on Bushwick Avenue last night with a $2 hoe.
Oh, Kiki, baby, I didn't know she was no hoe.
Lying, stinking dog, you told me you was at your mama.
Now that's evil.
Just a mess, but thankfully Justice came to relieve Rita of this fuckery, or so he thought. Rita wanted nothing to do with him since in her mind, he slept with Nikki the night before. He tries to convince her that he didn't sleep with Nikki and that he was at the station all night. Rita lets it slip that Nikki always tries to take what's hers, and Justice is taken aback by this. He changes the subject by telling her that he found out that the two guys they found prior, Anthony and Tony, worked for a mob boss, and so they go to ask them questions. And you already know Maximillion wasn't too far behind, and he quickly found someone else to morph into. Meanwhile, Rita and Justice are questioning this mob boss about their men. Why is this cat on the same table where people eat at? What the hell? Anyway, they didn't even get to question them too much because Maximillion came in to disrupt their questioning with his mess, then shot up the cat and everything. But Rita takes him down, and Justice complains about Rita always wanting to be the hero. Child, who else was gonna do it? You just stood there the whole time looking crazy. But anyway, they take this guy who's really Maximillion to the police station while Rita and Justice are bickering. Maximillion interrupts with some tea to egg them on even more.
Hey, I know you anyway. Did I see you over at Jugs on 5th Street, that titty bar the other night? Shut up!
And while they continue to go at it, this lady comes in crying about abominations and how the world is getting taken over, and everyone thinks she's crazy, but she's actually spitting facts, which makes Maximillion quite nervous. Justice finally tells Rita that he cares about her more than he should, and just when Rita softens, Maximillion interjects with the fuckery again.
Nikki, that's where I know you from. Nikki, the girl from Bed-Stuy. She told me some cop named Justice came by the other night and beach fucked her. The other night, that was you. You're the...
And Rita quickly snapped out of it and slapped the hell out of Justice, and their boss interrupted their squabble and requested to see Rita. And Maximillion almost got the smoke from Justice. Rita ends up getting suspended behind this mess, but Maximillion wasn't done. He uses this lady to his advantage by sending her a message telepathically to stab one of the officers, and this was just the distraction he needed to morph back into himself. As Rita makes it back home, she again gets the feeling that she's being followed, and as she looks around, she's almost run over by this taxi until Maximillion conveniently appears out of nowhere and saves her. As Rita thanks him, she realizes that she's met this stranger before. She goes on to apologize about their prior meeting at the bar, and he insists that they go out for dinner. Rita is hesitant at first, but after everything that happened with Justice earlier, she's more than down for it. So the next night, Justice is outside of Rita's apartment, hyping himself up to go talk to her. But baby, he was a little too late, because Rita had plans, and she was looking good.
Where you going?
Oh, dinner.
Dinner, just like that? Who you going with?
Friend.
He was in shock when that limo pulled up though, and Julius just had to rub it in his face.
Thought you was gonna get some ass tonight, didn't you? You take your ass to Blockbuster, get a video.
But Rita makes it to Maximillion's, and he has really zhuzhed this place up. Rita notices a painting on the wall and realizes it's an original. They connect over it and their night begins. Meanwhile, Justice goes to ask this lady about Julius, and she was more than happy to help.
Just want to ask you about a friend of yours, goofy looking guy.
Julius? He in trouble? Come on in.
We go back to Maximillion and Rita. Their date is still going good. They're talking about her hopes and dreams, and he even asks her to dance. Dude has been trying to get her to the dance floor for a hot minute now, and they are finally here. Maximillion starts spitting honey again, and he spits it so tough that she doesn't realize that he's yanked the cross off her neck. Now her vulnerable ass is getting sucked in, agreeing to things that she didn't mean to, and she gets bit by Maximillion. The next day, Justice goes over to find Julius, but he has the pleasure of meeting Silas instead and learns that Maximillion had a time with Rita the night before, and poor guy was in his feelings.
Must have done some serious bumping last night with that cat. Some suave motherfucker. Bang, 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 bang.
I mean, he rubbing that all in his face. But before he could hear more, he got a call on the radio about a DOA not too far from where he was. Turns out that this person was Nikki, looking just like the painting that Rita painted prior. So Justice goes over to Rita to tell her what happened, and child, Justice thought she was dead because he checked her pulse and there was none, but she was very much alive, somewhat, for now. Anyway, he tells her that Nikki was found dead, how she was found, and he tells Rita how he believes her now and doesn't think she's crazy. As they console each other, Rita's hunger starts to get the best of her. Now, thinks that some sexy shit is about to go down, but I don't know, this ain't that. Dude doesn't know how close to death he is. But when Rita looks in the mirror and notices that she's disappearing, she hightails it over to Maximillion to find out what the hell is going on.
What have you done to me?
Now, Maximillion is pissed because in his mind, he's given her eternal life and believes that she should be thankful. But Rita didn't even know what she agreed to. He tries to guilt trip her into accepting that she's a full-on vampire, saying how if she goes back to her life, she will be going back to a job where people laugh behind her back and she won't be happy. When that doesn't work, he goes for what he knows will get her attention. He tells her that her father sent him there and that her father was a vampire, and her mother went crazy because her dad sacrificed himself to protect her. This revelation causes Rita to reconsider her stance and causes a bit of doubt. We go back to Justice, who's made it over to Dr. Zakos to get some help for Rita. He tells Dr. Zako about how Rita's been seeing things in her dreams and having visions that come true and how she's gone missing. Dr. Zako reveals that he knew Rita's mom and was in love with her years ago. Her mom succumbed to an undead years ago, and that's what actually led her to go crazy. So the little story that Maximillion told Rita was a whole entire lie. He's trying to set her up just like her mom was set up. But Dr. Zakos warns Justice that Rita is now a predator and a human, and she only has a small window of time before she fully transitions to the dark side. Once she has her first meal as a vampire, it's a wrap. Maximillion is trying his best to get Rita to give in to her lust for human blood, and she's fighting for her life, trying her best to run away, but she's never quite far enough from Maximillion. He eventually takes her back to his lair, desperately trying to convince her to take her first bite because she's not looking too good. And in comes Silas, not knowing that he's made himself available to be the perfect snack. And Rita was this close to giving in until Justice comes in and interrupts them. And Julius still hasn't learned to mind his damn business. He decides to take on Justice and ends up taking his own self out.
Oh! That was my fucking eye!
And wanted to smoke with Maximillion, but he underestimated his opponent and gets sent flying across the room. Dr. Zako tries to help, but he was in dire need of an anatomy lesson.
This is my heart. This is my stomach. This is my heart. You should know the rules, Zako.
Hola, Ting Ting. Rita stops Maximillion from hurting him, and she and Maximillion go ghost. Meanwhile, this fool is looking for his eye.
Just looking for my eye. My eye. Yeah, it came out my head.
I think I got your ear.
Oh, damn, I said, watch your step, nigga.
Zako warned Justice that he only has a small amount of time left before Rita permanently joins the dark side. He hands Justice his stake and sends him off to rescue Rita. And child, Silas and Julius continue to bicker.
Come on, man, let's get the hell out of here.
Don't do that. You
Now
hit my
look at
shirt,
this
man.
shit. Look at this shit.
Put that
Shit,
back on.
that paint is
This
alive.
my shit.
Justice finds himself in the room with Maximillion's coffin. He finds Rita inside, which served as the perfect distraction, and Maximillion appears behind him. His suave look went right out the window. He's looking pretty rough now. And you gotta give it to Justice. He went against a whole vampire. He gave him a few taps, but in the end, Maximillion got the best of him. And for a second, Justice thinks it's a wrap, but thankfully goodness prevails and Rita takes the stake and sticks it right through Maximillion's heart. And it was a wrap for him. But why was his nose all wrinkled up like a prune though? That was so gross. But we see Maximillion disappear along with his coffin, and this luxury loft turns back into what it was before. We also see his ring land on the limo outside. But Rita is back to being fully human, and her and Justice finally have their first kiss. We go back to Silas and Julius. They get into the limo that Maximillion conveniently left behind. As Julius opens the sky roof, the ring falls in and he puts it on. And he got a nice little surprise. Turns out the ring has its perks, and now everything is back in working order. Julius is back to himself, and maybe even a bit better.
Oh, Ma! Man, Max said being a ghoul had benefits. What? But goddamn!
And this is pretty much the end of the movie. And here are my final thoughts. Can we talk about how Eddie Murphy Slick made the same movie twice? Coming to America to find a queen, coming to Brooklyn to find an offspring. I'm just saying. But someone should have taught Maximillion a little word called consent. He basically made Julius a ghoul, though he didn't bite him, but I mean, he might as well have. He had Julius suffering out here, body just decaying minute by minute. Then you manipulate every situation and person to get to Rita, and then when you get her, you basically manipulate her into agreeing to be a vampire and change her whole entire life. Like, you didn't even give her the opportunity to choose for herself. You've killed her roommate, though homegirl was trash. We can't even lie about that one. He morphed into a whole preacher, poisoning the congregation with his foolishness, getting in between Rita and Justice, making it seem that he did something with Nikki when he didn't. Even killed Nikki and left her body the same as the painting that Rita did to make it seem that in some way she caused it. Like, he manipulated every single piece to this crazy ass puzzle. I'm so glad that she was able to come back to herself in the end and take out Maximillion, but unfortunately, the city's still not safe with Julius floating around there. And honestly, if I was Justice, I couldn't trust Rita after that. There's no way you can sleep next to her in peace knowing that she once saw you as a whole snack, and not in a good way. But anyway, that's it, y'all. Thanks for watching this movie. Per usual, please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. As for the next review, all I'm gonna say is 1996, Stephen King, and a very angry gypsy. See you next time, you guys. Bye.